So my name is Joe Keefe, and I'm here with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're here at SMM 2018, and joining us on the set here at Maritime Reporter TV is RSC Bio President and CEO Mike Guggenheimer. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's get right to it. You've been in the business for over 10 years here serving the marine markets, but it was just about 2 years ago at this show that you made several really important announcements with regard to your marine offerings. Tell us about what's happened in the intervening years and how that's developed for you over time.
Yeah, and as I was reflecting on things before this conversation, I realized how much has really happened in the last couple of years. We announced two big things last event. One was a partnership with Drew Marine, which has come out over the last couple of years. We were beginning to expand our distribution network, but today we sit here with a totally different footprint, the ability to serve ports all over the world in a way we hadn't previously been able to do. The other big announcement back then was Futera, the launch of our next generation hydraulic fluid with that same PAO level performance that our customers are used to, but to a new level of performance and environmental sensitivity. And so since that time, we've been rolling it out and seeing it in application in the market.
Okay, very good. So one of your big market things that you're talking about during this show is the EnviroLogic Grease, the REP, which is a grease for deck machinery and other applications. Tell us a little bit about that and why that's important for you.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, because that's been launched since the last one. It really started because we are in a space where we're trying to identify performance opportunities first and foremost. Yes, we are an environmental acceptable lubricant provider, but our number one objective is to address performance issues and deliver performance. So what we heard in the market was greases in particular in marine applications, they tend to wash off, they tend to get sprayed off, and when you move to an environmental technology, then you really have some challenges. So we had customers saying, hey, if you can do this on hydraulic fluid, I wish you could do it in greases. So we launched a technology that we call 2-Rep, which is a water-resistant EP grease. And what we're finding is the market reaction is very favorable because not only does it perform better than the traditional EAL, it performs better than the traditional marine or mineral-based lubricant. So customers are finding a highly durable, highly a product that will resist that water spray off very well. So it's been, the reception's been very favorable.
And it's become even more important now with the Subchapter M rules in the United States for the barges and for the tugboats, and for example, the integrated tug and barges. Tell us a little bit about that market.
Yeah, I think anywhere where you have an application where the potential exposure to the water is high, people are looking to minimize that risk. So if they're already looking at applications that might be impacted by the EPA's Vessel General Permit or other factors in other markets, they start to look at other applications where the risk is high. And to your point, the ATBs, wire rope, winches, they all have the potential to end up in the water. And so our partners are looking to address risk across a full array of applications. And so that's where that was born from. We're also seeing more and more ports and fairway systems say we're going to create incentives for people that make a switch to products that meet certain criteria, and that's where a grease like the 2-Rep grease can come into play, whereas it gives them one more thing to address those scorecards favorably.
Yeah, and lets them sleep a little bit better at night, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the marine customers have a big brand that they're supporting behind them, and they want to really represent their customers well too, and not put kind of let them sleep better at night, but also kind of have that risk be mitigated.
Okay. So with that in mind, obviously one of the big things that you market is EAL lubricants, and you go about it in a slightly different fashion than perhaps some of your customers. There's three main types. Why don't you run through those with us and tell us why you do what you do?
Yeah, and I'll try to avoid boring you with a lot of technical details, but there really are three main types you'll see in marine applications or potentially a fourth. One is a vegetable-based technology that's called an HETG. Really, in most applications that are in a propulsion system, it's not durable enough for a marine application. There's also a PAG technology that works in very specific applications, but it has a very significant trade-off in terms of compatibility. The third one is an ester technology, which you'll see adopted pretty widely. What we have done is focused on the HEPR technology, which is a PAO or hydrocarbon-based technology. And the reason we focus on that is we're looking for that high stability, high performance product where if someone's going to put it in a stern tube or a thruster, they need to know that it's going to last the entire dry docking schedule. And that's what, I mentioned kind of seeing what's happened over the last 2 years. Now that we have products in vessels over more periods of time, we're able to see things like acid numbers not climb. And that's the fear for a vessel owner operator is you put a technology that may have some inherent weakness to it chemically, how long will it last? And so now that we have more time in boats, more time where you're collecting oil samples, you get to see that stability real time. So that has been our focus on these hydrocarbon-based technologies that are much more stable and much more durable.
Okay, and speaking of thrusters, that's becoming more and more the rule as opposed to the exception, especially on inland waterways and offshore. As people go to more and more towards thruster technology as opposed to a traditional propulsion, are you seeing more demand for this?
Yes, I think the complexity in this space just continues to grow. There's a great technology from the propulsion system providers. A lot of what we do in this market is spend time with our OEM partners. So we do see more of that. And our gear oil technology, our hydraulic fluid technology, we're constantly trying to make sure that it's works well in all these systems. So a big part of what we do is gain their approval and their partnership on these technologies. So yeah, we will continue to see more, advanced thruster systems as the market continues to evolve.
Okay, you talked about Drew Marine as your distributor a little bit earlier. Let's talk a little bit more about where they're representing for you, where they're distributing.
I will begin by saying I look at Drew Marine much more as a strategic partner than a distributor. It'd be one thing to go and kind of set up a distribution hubs and put inventory in the market, but what Drew Marine brings us is not only do they have the supply chain and the network where they're in hundreds and hundreds of ports, they are delivering technical products already, water treatment systems and a full range of chemical technology. So they have technologists that are on vessels dealing with superintendents that understand how to talk about the technology. So it really extends us more than just a supply chain standpoint. So as we bring on new customers and they, a lot of times you bring on a large fleet and you're looking at an entire kind of network of trade routes and dry docking schedules, you need a partner that can not only get them the product, they can provide that technical expertise and support at the vessel level. And so they've really extended us from that standpoint.
Okay, great. One last technical question here from my end, and it's something that was rolling around in my mind. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the mantra out there in industry was that if you didn't want to spend the money to use an EAL, well, it was because it was technically infeasible. But that excuse is rapidly going away, isn't it? If not completely gone away.
It is. It is going away. It's rapidly going away from a kind of technical standpoint in terms of what they're able to do. I'd say the concern about the technical stability of the product is still there. And so that's where we're focused, is making sure that we're showing our customers that our product is very stable. If someone is asking about technical infeasibility, that means they're worried about the product not working. So our attention is, let's make sure you're comfortable with it working in your system. Let's stand behind it with a warranty and not get too worried about technical infeasibility as an opt-out. It's more of, how do we help make sure you're comfortable and the technology is actually delivering value to you? We don't want to ever go to a situation where they're having to trade off performance. We want a product that performs as well or better than the conventional product, and all the environmental benefits just come along for the ride.
And with that regard, your OEM approvals have really come up in the last 2 years, haven't they? You've got more often than not, you've already got those approvals in place.
Yeah, and just to say it's a constant effort for us. I look at that part of our business as just important as serving our direct customers.
Yep.
They're always introducing new technology. We got to be lockstep with them. So in my view, we'll never end that battle, because we always want to make sure that we are working closely with the OEMs. But yes, we continue to gain approvals every day, and a lot of what we do at a show like this is work with them closely.
Great. It's a fascinating topic, and of course the environment's job number one right now on the water, right up there with the new big data push. But if you're not environmentally sound, you're out of business anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of these trends that you see in the industry are about staying ahead of kind of what their customer wants, but also just mitigating risk. There's stakeholders more and more that are concerned about what's going in the water and how we're dealing with seafarers and making sure everything is safe for both people and the environment. So we're hopeful that we can continue to provide solutions to that.
Very good. Thanks for stopping by, and have a good rest of the show. I know you got 2 more solid days here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. Good to see you.
Great.